Joe Biden delivered some harsh words shredding Trump in response to him and MAGA Republicans refusing to pass a bipartisan border deal. Now remember, according to these same Republicans, day one of Biden being in office, immigrants just flooded over the border, running with their kids and family member and best friend in hand just to get to America, and all was perfect before. Immigration was not an issue before day one Biden presidency, but at the same time, they now don't want to do anything to legislate on the issue. It's also important to remember the way they paint it like that is not at all based in reality. The facts are you are more likely to be sent back under Biden than you are to Trump. You're more likely to be apprehended while crossing illegally under Biden than Trump. And these are two things that I don't even support. I'm against those things, but Republicans do support them, and we have to start with facts if we're going to have these conversations. And if Republicans want you to believe that the border crossings are Biden's fault, that's just not true. He's tougher on immigration than Trump is. The pandemic ruined economies, whole economies in countries, and caused desperation and struggle that caused people to flee their countries at a higher rate than we've ever experienced. Our border has needed reform for decades. It was not prepared for this type of a crisis. It's pretty obvious that now, yes, we need it. It's something that the Gang of Eight was in like 2014 when we said we needed border reform, and it's been long enough, and this is a huge issue, and that was before Trump or Biden, but now, of course, it's all Biden's fault. Even though Republicans refuse to sit at the table and hammer out a deal now that Democrats are willing to negotiate. And it gets to the point that the Senate has this bill almost completely ready to go. Republicans are like, yeah, we'll hammer this out in the Senate. We're going to get it bipartisan. Then boom, bill's dead. Wait, what? Why is it dead? Oh, Trump doesn't want it. That's it? Seriously. And keep in mind, there were multiple concessions in this bill from Democrats that are very hard line on immigration reform. Something that Republicans would have salivated at the mouth over if it wasn't a political thing they were trying to gain off of. That Democrats were willing to restrict border crossings at 4,000 a week, allowed Homeland Security to deny plausible asylum claims just on the basis of too many crossings that day. The president could shut down the border any day if deemed a crisis. He had the powers, the standalone power. It raised the standard of proof needed for asylum, making it harder for people to qualify. That would have cut off like a close to 50% of asylum cases accepted now. These are things that Democrats would have never agreed to a decade ago. And rightfully so, might I add. They're not wrong for not agreeing to this kind of hardline immigration reform. Just to give my personal input on this, I'm glad that this bill's dead. The answer to the Texas government going rogue on the border isn't giving them what they want. And I don't support crossing over into fascism to make a deal with the other side. That's where we should draw the line. When human rights come into question, that's not something we should debate or work bipartisanly on. No, we draw the line at all humans get included. That's where the debate starts. And if you're not willing to start there, then you're not at the table, my man. We should be making asylum more accessible. We should be putting more funds into that, more asylum judges, work out a way to expedite more claims, remove sanctions on the countries that have massive immigration spikes if we think it's such a problem, actually address the issues, rather than just concede to what Republicans fearmonger about and decide to regress 20 years on immigration progress. So while I'm glad it's dead, very much glad it's dead, I think that Dems are very much wrong for their concessions. I do also think it clearly shows who's willing to come to the table and negotiate and give up some ground on their positions to make a deal in the middle that is seemingly or ostensibly supposed to be better for everyone. And it's definitely not Republicans, because Democrats are conceding on things they never would have 10 years ago to now make a deal. But Republicans are like, no. So let's watch how Joe Biden addresses this.
For years, they said they want to secure the border. Now they have the strongest border bill this country has ever seen.
Now, just to be clear, strong by Republican measures. I don't think this in any way addresses the actual issues with immigration, because immigration itself is not an issue, but it addresses everything that Republicans love to fearmonger about. So while I do support this as a clear indicator that Republicans are in no way actually serious about negotiating on this issue, we're talking about stricter border policies than any Republican president has put forth in 20 years. Let's talk about that. Let alone a Democrat. I do have to remain cynical about the bill because I still believe it's a Republican conservative fever dream.
Look, I understand the former president is desperately trying to stop this bill because he's not interested in solving the border problem. He wants a political issue to run against me on. have all but said that across the board. No one really denies that I'm aware of. The American people want a solution that puts an end to the empty political rhetoric, which has failed to do anything for so long. We have to get the resources to the border to get the job done. So Republicans have to decide, who do they serve? Donald Trump or the American people?
I hope we could get something worked out that actually makes asylum easier, a path to citizenship easier, allows these immigrants to begin working and aiding our economy, even in the case of asylum claims, because guess what? Immigration does wonders for our economy, and we rely on it in multiple ways. Immigrants add billions of dollars to Social Security, all while not pulling from it. They create more jobs than they take, and multiple industries require this labor to keep their prices as low as we are used to them being. The issue with immigration is our broken system that makes it harder for these things to be possible. The corrupt employers that are contracting these immigrants and not keeping their work visas up and all these other things just to exploit them for cheap labor, and America's meddling in countries' economies that we just haven't learned from doing for decades on end. We just keep on trying, like, we're America, we're doing the right thing, right? We'll look back in a couple years and try to forget about it. Now, obviously, none of this is possible, any of the actual reform that we need, as long as MAGA Republicans and Trump loyalists are around. I mean, they couldn't even pass a bill that Republicans would have foamed in the mouth about if there was a red president, if there was anyone but Biden, or if this was 10 years ago, let alone. I don't even know where Congress could go from here. I lose faith when things like this happen because Republicans can't even get things done in their own party. How can we expect them to reach across the aisle and get anything meaningfully done in a bipartisan fashion? MAGA is completely unwilling to be productive on anything that is going to help Biden's cause. And they're like mask off about it. They're not even trying to hide it at this point. This is not what government is supposed to be about. Some game that's all strategy and gamemanship about getting your guy back in office. And it's frustrating that this is happening right in front of our face. And people are so readily jumping to defend this nonsense just because of some like tribalism that's been ingrained in their mind from Trump coming to politics. This is not what politics was like 10 years ago. It's okay to look at your party and say, damn, I don't really agree with that. Just like I just did in most of this video. I don't agree with most of this bill. It's okay. Guess what? I'm still on the left. You can be on the right and look at these MAGA nobodies and say, man, they're not doing what's best for my party. They're not doing what's best for America. They're not doing what's best for the government. We need to get them out of here. But nobody wants to do that because it's all about tribalism and just ganging up and being MAGA. Because on the right, your career is over. It is political suicide to not be MAGA, even though these Republicans cannot pass through their own bills. They can't, and you can't even say at this point, oh, Democrats write bad bills and they include stuff that Republicans don't want to pass, and it's just reckless spinning, and Republicans would never be on board with that, and that's why they won't vote for Democratic bills, because Republicans can't even pass through their own bills now, their own standalone measures. The standalone Israel funding did not pass, despite it being drafted by Republicans and them having majority in the House where it was voted on. They couldn't get it passed. What about the Mayorkas impeachment? Failed, despite, again, Republicans having majority. They're unproductive and inefficient. And in 2024, we need to vote as many of these nobodies out of office as we possibly can. If you enjoyed this video, we are Social Society. We're a commentary channel influenced by politics, society, and the economy. We are pretty left-leaning on this channel, but we're open to our right-wingers as well. The biggest thing here is having conversations that get everyone to the bottom of the truth. If that sounds like something that could interest you, consider smashing that subscribe button, leaving us a like, or even commenting on this video. We even have memberships available as low as $3 if you'd like to support, because the only way we become a society is together.